Donald Trump is on a tariff-imposing frenzy. After slapping Canada and Mexico with 25% tariffs and China with a 10% tariff, Trump's got his sights on the European Union.
Am I going to impose tariffs on the European Union? You want the truthful answer, or should I give you a political answer? Absolutely. Absolutely. The European Union has treated us so terribly.
The shocking news comes after Trump followed through on his promise to whack Canada and Mexico with 25% tariffs.
Are you planning to increase the tariffs against Canada?
Well, it could happen. If they do anything, we will. Canada's been very abusive of the United States for many years. They don't allow our banks. Did you know that? Canada does not allow banks to go in. If you think about it, that's pretty amazing. If we have a U.S. bank, they don't allow them to go in. Canada's been very tough on oil, on energy. They don't allow our farm products in, essentially. They don't allow a lot of things in, and we allow everything to come in. It's been a one-way street. We subsidize Canada by the tune of about $200 billion a year. And for what? What do we get out of it? We don't get anything out of it. I love the people of Canada. I disagree with the leadership of Canada, and something's going to happen there. But if they want to play the game, I don't mind. We can play the game all they want. Mexico, we've had very good talks with them, and this is retaliatory. This is retaliatory to a certain extent. Millions of people flowed into our country through Mexico and Canada, and we're not going to allow that.
The sweeping tariffs had a mixed reaction online, with this commentator saying, Trump understands leverage, and that's exactly what's happening here. Mexico and Canada have allowed millions of people to flood into the United States, taking advantage of weak leadership under Biden. Now, with Trump back in charge, the game has changed. If they want to play hardball, Trump is ready to make them feel the economic consequences. That's how real leadership works, using economic power to protect national security. But not everyone is convinced. Sky News contributor Brad Palumbo says a trade war will not be good for anyone.
Back while Donald Trump's trade war has begun after the president announced a 25% additional tariff on imports from Canada and Mexico and 10% on imports from China.
But it didn't take long for Canadian PM Justin Trudeau to respond with his own tariffs.
I am announcing Canada will be responding to the U.S. trade action with 25% tariffs against $155 billion worth of American goods.
Joining us now is Brad Palumbo from the Brad vs. Everyone podcast. Brad, good to see you as always. I've got to say, get your popcorn ready. How do you see this playing out?
Well, it's going to be dramatic, that's for sure, but I'm actually really worried about where this is going. I'm not sure a full trade war will be good for anybody. I mean, one of the biggest reasons that people voted for Trump is that they were sick of years of the high cost of living, of inflation that was breaking every American family's budget, but especially the ones struggling to get by. But now these Trump tariffs on especially the ones on Mexico and Canada, they'll make cost of goods and services go up for Americans. Trump even kind of admitted that because he put a lower tariff on energy imports, saying because we don't want the price to go up too much, which is implicitly admitting that everything else from foodstuffs to electronics to chemicals to transportation equipment and beyond will get more expensive because of these tariffs. So when Trump has used tariffs as a negotiating tool, it has worked sometimes in recent memory even, but as a broad-based economic measure, I'm worried they're going to hurt many of the same people he's trying to help.
Despite the pushback, Trump is pushing ahead with his plans, slamming the mainstream media for criticizing his measures. Anybody that's against tariffs, including the fake news Wall Street Journal and hedge funds, is only against them because these people or entities are controlled by China or other foreign or domestic companies. Anybody that loves and believes in the United States of America is in favor of tariffs. They should have never ended, in favor of the income tax system in 1913. And it seems whenever Trump speaks, markets move, with the tariffs announcements leading to a slump in the Canadian and Mexican currency against the USD. The Canadian dollar crashed to its lowest point since 2003. This commentator said, immediately following Trump's tariff announcement, the value of both the Canadian dollar and the Mexican peso are in freefall. Don't mess with the United States of America. But Justin Trudeau is not going down without a fight. He's come out swinging, telling his countrymen not to vacation in the US or buy US goods.
And now is also the time to choose Canada. There are many ways for you to do your part. It might mean checking the labels at the supermarket and picking Canadian-made products. It might mean opting for Canadian rye over Kentucky bourbon, or foregoing Florida orange juice altogether. It might mean changing your summer vacation plans to stay here in Canada and explore the many national and provincial parks, historical sites, and tourist destinations our great country has to offer.
Despite some countries promising retaliatory tariffs, the Colombian president was quick to throw cold water on the situation and cower to Trump's demands to avoid the tariffs on his country.
And Donald Trump recently slammed Colombia's president on Truth Social after he initially refused to accept US military planes carrying deported migrants. Now, Trump posted a photo of himself wearing a fedora next to a sign with 4 letters FAFO. I actually had to figure out what this actually means recently, and I've discovered it's F around, find out. And after the threats about tariffs, Colombia's government agreed to allow US military flights carrying deported migrants to land. So FAFO at this stage, we're 1 week in, but it seems to be working for Trump.
Yeah, it does. Welcome to the age of FAFO diplomacy, and I'm all for it. It's worth actually just recounting this. You had 2 planes that were on course for Colombia full of illegal criminal migrants of Colombian heritage. The Colombian president says, no, too hard, we don't want them. Trump is on the golf course at the time and he goes, nah, sorry mate, gets out of his golf buggy, tweets away that we are going to put 25% tariffs on you. They're going to go up to 50% tariffs in a week. We're going to put sanctions on all of your senior leaders and oligarchs. We're going to stop any Colombian officials entering the country. We're going to basically make your life a misery. And within 20 minutes, not only did Colombia cave, they offered the presidential plane of Colombia to help get these migrants out of the US and into Colombian territory. It was extraordinary. And I was watching this in the pub at the time, just on Twitter, going, this is so much fun. And what does it tell you? It tells you that, number one, that this is a very different Trump administration to the first time around. I would wager that that tweet that Trump sent was drafted long before the election. They are much more prepared, they're much more strategic, they're much more focused, and you've seen that with the executive orders that have gone out, and you've seen that with that response in that moment there. But the other thing is, it's just refreshing to see a leader that is unashamedly putting the interests of his country first. If it was Biden who was the president in this situation, he would have taken the plane back, and then you would have had a review, and some government department would have said, well, there might be this international law that we're potentially in contravention of. It would have gone for a few months, and then nothing would have happened, and it would have fallen out of the news, and those people would have stayed in America. It is so good to finally see a country that is actually putting its people first. I just wish the UK and Australia would do the same thing.
Yeah, well, hopefully it does.
However, the president of Mexico didn't agree. She hit back, saying the tariffs will only hurt US consumers.
Muy buenas tardes a todas y a todos. Como probablemente estén enterados, el día de ayer el gobierno de Estados Unidos impuso aranceles del 25% a los productos que exportamos hacia su país. Fíjense, llevamos 30 años que esto no existía, porque tenemos un tratado de libre comercio. El último tratado de libre comercio lo firmó el presidente López Obrador con el propio presidente Trump. Esta medida del 25% de los aranceles tiene efectos para ambos países, pero tiene efectos muy graves para la economía de los Estados Unidos, pues va a elevar los costos muchísimo de todos los productos que se exportan de México hacia los Estados Unidos. Va a tener un 25% más de costo.